This week, we read a story called When Charlie McButton Lost Power. This is a narrative story, and later this week, you'll be writing your own narrative stories. But before we can do that, we need to learn about sentence fragments and run-on sentences. So, what is a sentence? A sentence shows a complete thought. When you're writing, you need to be sure that your sentences have a clear beginning and ending. All sentences start with a capital letter. It's important to start your sentence with a capital letter so readers know when a thought is beginning. And all sentences end with a period, a question mark, or an exclamation point. Just like having a capital letter at the beginning of your sentence lets readers know that you're starting a new thought, having the proper punctuation at the end of your sentence lets readers know when a thought is ending. A sentence is when you have a complete thought. But what does it mean to have a complete thought? A complete thought means that there is a subject and a predicate. The subject is the who or the what of a sentence, and the predicate is the action. It asks, what are they doing? Let's try an example now. The first sentence we have here is, Sarah rode the Ferris wheel. In this sentence, the subject, the who or the what, is Sarah. Now we need to find the predicate. To find the predicate, we ask ourselves, what did Sarah do? Sarah rode the Ferris wheel. So that's our predicate. Let's try another one. The class learned about dinosaurs. Let's think. How do we find the subject? First, we have to ask ourselves, who or what is this sentence talking about? The who in this sentence is the class. Now to find the predicate, we ask ourselves, what is the class doing? They learned about dinosaurs. Now we can move on to sentence fragments. What is a sentence fragment? A sentence fragment is a group of words, but it's not a complete thought. It's usually missing the subject or the predicate of the sentence, but it might also be missing a capital letter, a period, a question mark, or an exclamation point. Let's look at a few examples. Our first sentence says, went for a walk. What's missing? First, this is missing a capital letter. But even more importantly, it's missing a subject. This sentence did not tell me who went for a walk. It just says, went for a walk. Number 2, I love tacos. What's missing in this sentence? It gives me a subject and a predicate, right? Because it says, I love tacos. But what it doesn't give me is the punctuation. We need an exclamation point or a period to let us know that the thought has ended. Number 3, she is very tall. What's missing in this sentence? It has a subject and it has a predicate, but what it doesn't have is a capital letter. Let's practice deciding whether something is a sentence or a fragment now. Number 1, I read a book about sea life. Is this a sentence or is it a fragment? Do we have a who? We do. I is our who. So what am I doing in this sentence? Reading a book about sea life. It has a capital letter and punctuation. So this is a sentence. Example number 2, the largest mammal. This example does have a capital letter and it does have punctuation, just like our last sentence. But I don't see a who in this, so it has to be a fragment. Example number 3, I want to see a whale someday. In this example, we have a capital letter, we have punctuation. Who wants to do what in this sentence? Well, I want to see a whale someday. So this must be a sentence. Example number 4. Swims quickly through the water. The first thing we are looking at is, does this have a capital letter? And it does. What about punctuation? Yep, right there. So now we need to see if it has a subject and a predicate. It tells us what is happening, right? It says swims quickly through the water, but it doesn't tell us who. So this must be a fragment. Last but definitely not least, we have example number 5. A jellyfish is an interesting sea creature. Does this sentence have a capital letter and punctuation? It sure does. What about a subject and a predicate? Who is this sentence about? Well, it's about a jellyfish. And what is the jellyfish doing? It's being an interesting sea creature. So this must be a sentence. Run-on sentences. What is a run-on sentence? A run-on sentence is 2 complete sentences that are joined together without correct punctuation. Run-on sentences also start a second sentence before they finish the first one. Let's look at a few examples of run-on sentences. Sarah went to the park. She talked to her friends at the swings. This is a run-on sentence because Sarah went to the park is one sentence. That's one complete thought. And she talked to her friends at the swings is another complete thought. Example number 2. The class learned about the solar system. We ate tacos for lunch. This is 2 different thoughts again. Our first thought is that the class learned about the solar system. And then our second thought is that we ate tacos for lunch. When you have a run-on sentence like this one, it can get confusing for your reader because it seems like you're jumping from one thing right on to another. So let's put it all into practice with example number 1. I went to the store last night. Do you think that this is a complete sentence, a run-on sentence, or a sentence fragment? Let's think about it. It has a capital letter and it has punctuation. We have a subject because it gives us I, and it tells us what we are doing. Went to the store last night. So this is a complete sentence. Example number 2. My mom ordered nachos. She likes Mexican food. Do you think this is a complete sentence, a run-on sentence, or a sentence fragment? Let's look. It has a capital letter, and it has punctuation. So we've got 2 of those things. Does this sentence have a subject? Looks like it to me. It talks about who? My mom. So what did mom do? She ordered nachos. When we keep reading the sentence, we have another subject. It's she, because it's talking about my mom. And it says she likes Mexican food. So it seems to me like there are 2 separate thoughts here, which would make this a run-on sentence. Example number 3. This one is a little tricky. It says, I studied for my math test, so I did well. This little guy right here is actually called a comma. It links the 2 parts of the sentence. So we have a capital letter, and we have a period at the end, and we have a comma to link the 2. Do we have a subject? The subject is I. And then what am I doing? I studied for my math test. We know that I did well. So this is a complete sentence. And our very last example, number 4, it says, into the woods with my dog. Well, let's look at this. I think that we have a capital letter here, and we definitely have a period. So what do you think our subject is? What's the who in this? Into the woods with my dog. I don't think we have a who. It tells us what we're doing. We're going into the woods with our dog, but it doesn't give me a subject. So this, my friends, is a sentence fragment. All right, let's review, shall we? A good sentence has a subject, the who or the what, and a predicate, the part of a sentence that tells us what the subject is doing. A good sentence also has a capital letter at the beginning and a proper punctuation at the end. A sentence fragment is not a complete thought. It's missing a subject, a predicate, a capital letter, or it's missing the punctuation. And a run-on sentence is where two complete sentences are joined together without the correct punctuation.